Today we continue with our Friday afternoon class, Halachos of Brochos. Today's class number 11. And we start with Sefer Halachos on page 199. And topic today is disparaging a Torah scholar. While it is a sin to quarrel with any Jew, the sin is greater when one initiates a feud with Torah scholars. And when one's adversary in his own Torah teacher is his own Torah, the sin magnified manifold, right? So basically, we should not quarrel with any Jew, right? Torah scholar, especially kosher one, that's not good. Okay. Just a second. Hi, Rufat. All right. So we say don't start a quarrel with any Jew, and needless to say with a Torah scholar, and needless to say with your teacher. So many times students somehow they think that they just because they learn many books or whatever, they see many lectures. Sometimes it gets into their head that somehow they're better than teachers. I don't know why, but that's what happens many times. So that's a big problem. It is in this way. It is a way of the warning parties to discourage one another, right? Disparage one another, and it is regarding one who disparages a Torah scholar that our sages applied the verse for he scorned the word of Hashem and broke His commandment. That person will surely be cut off and sin upon him. Bamidbar 15:31. So basically, so we see like it's an atomic bomb. So if you, the way I see it, if you don't agree with him, just go, just leave, just go somewhere, right? Don't have to argue with anybody, right? So one more time, Bamidbar say he scorned the word of Hashem, he broke His commandments. Right, that person will surely be cut off and the sin upon him. So basically, he goes against the Torah scholar. Torah scholar is a representative of Hashem. That's all he is. He's not probably he's not proficient in any other things. But Torah, that's his occupation. So he representative of Hashem. Person goes against Torah scholar. He goes against Hashem directly. Don't do it.
Wait, but what if a Torah scholar goes against Rabbi Yisroel that like says bad things about him? Then what do we do with him?
So many times just stay aside.
Got it.
Just stay aside. Rabbi Yisroel is going to take care of himself. But if that person is not known apikoros, if he's apikoros, you can go against him. But if he's not, so don't get involved. Right, we had recently, there is a Ponovich Yeshiva, I think, if I remember correctly. And it was one great rabbi, another great rabbi, and the students got crazy. They started beating each other, like kosher Jews, you understand? And they beat up one of the rabbis. He was bleeding. They were taking him from the yeshiva. It's not normal. I mean, these people, they have some arguments. This rabbi have arguments, but they never ask the students to go on take it on the next level. You understand? So don't get involved, or ask rabbi. Ask this rabbi. What do you think we should do? Okay. The Talmud relates in Shabbat 119b that the sin of shaming Torah scholars led to destruction of Yerushalayim. No more, no less. Right? As it is written, but they mocked the messengers of God, despised His word, and scoffed at His prophets. To the point that the anger of Hashem rose against people without possibility of abatement. Devrei Yamim 36:16. So basically, the people went too far. So all of these rabbis, I mean, if it's kosher rabbi, he represents Torah. What does he tell you? What does he teach you? Right? Only Torah. These prophets, the prophet. I mean, what I learned about the prophet, it's the most cursed position ever. So everybody hates him, almost everybody. Right, but he does it because Hashem said so, and people against him, and they curse him, and they throw stones at him. You understand? One of them they kill him in the Beis Hamikdash. You understand? So it's to be a prophet, it's only l'shem shamayim. Okay, continue. The Talmud further states, Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi said, whoever speaks disparagingly of a deceased Torah scholar descends into Gehenna. Okay. So it's Brachas 19a. So even about life one, even about deceased one. Okay. So all right. So let's continue. So today we'll learn Halachos of Brochos. So here's the book, Halachos of Brochos. So just a quick introduction. For the fact that he joined us for the first time. So when we say blessing on the food, right? Our topic is Ikar and Tofel. So in many cases you have primary food and secondary food. For example, if you eat something because of something else, right? You have French fries and you have ketchup, right? You have different blessing called ketchup and French fries. But French fries, the only reason you eat the French fries is to improve the only reason you eat ketchup is to improve the French fries. So there is no blessing on the French fries. Or for example, you eat cereal, right, with the milk, right? So milk, the only reason, for example, you eat milk is because of the cereal. Otherwise, you're not going to drink this milk.
But cereal is bizanot, right, Rabbi?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So what I'm saying, it's technically two separate foods. But you eat one because of the maybe somebody can eat like dry cereal, maybe a few pieces, but otherwise the only way to eat cereal, at least for me, to put milk. Okay, so you put milk. So milk is a secondary, cereal is a primary, right? So you make the blessing on the cereal, mizanot, and it covers milk. That's it. Don't need to make separate blessings. Okay, then we said. If you have mizanot, right? So it's always it's very important thing. It's a very important food, very important. So if you have this, so you always have to make the blessing. If it's for example, you have a salad, right? You have a salad, and you have these croutons, right? The pieces of like crouton. So you have to make on croutons separate blessing, and then blessing on the salad. So even though it is minority. For sure, like a few pieces, and most of it's lettuce and tomatoes, cucumbers, all other things. Even though it is minority, you make separate because it is so important. You have barley; it's very important. All of five pieces of grain. Okay, but then when you have mix of different foods, right? You make a blessing. So if it's mixed, so meaning it's a tiny small pieces, let's say, right? So you have let's say you have a stew, small pieces of potato, small pieces of meat, right? So you can eat with one spoonful, right? So then we see what is more. So if there are more potatoes, you make on potatoes, but and covers the meat. If there is more meat, you make on the meat, it covers potato. So one is primary, one is secondary, subordinate, not say subordinate. Then if you like meat, even though it is minority, but you like meat more, so you can make blessing on the meat. But if you like both of them, so you like potatoes, you like meat, so there is no preference for you whatsoever. That's what I told everybody. That's my personal approach. In my mind, there is no preference. I like this one and this one. So I have to make two blessings on the meat and on potatoes. Of course, potatoes come first, but then on the meat. Okay, so that's 1 second. I think that's okay. But when they're at then we say liquids do not mix with the solids. What does it mean? So if you have a liquid, you have soup, right? Soup is never mixed with pieces of chicken. It's never mixed with potatoes. Potatoes separate, soup is separate. Okay, the liquid is separate. Okay, it's not topics of the soup, and we're going to. It's a separate separate chapter about what blessing to make on the soup. So just so you know, it's not so simple. All right, so we continue with Ikar and Tofel, meaning primary and subordinate, secondary. And then section F, And the subject is general rules of Ikar and Tofel. Number one, mechanics of Ikar and Tofel. The Rishonim explained that mechanics of Ikar and Tofel in the following way. Even though the Tofel is subordinate to Ikar, the Tofel is not considered to be insignificant as to not require bracha. Rather, we consider the bracha made on the Ikar to extend to cover the Tofel as well. According to this approach, when the bracha on Ikar cannot be applied to cover Tofel, the separate bracha on the Tofel is required. Okay, so we're going to go in examples, but before we go in the examples, so we say very interesting things here. It's not like one is significant and another is not significant. Like we said, you have potatoes and you have meat, right? Even though it's one dish, we don't say that one of them is insignificant. We say other approach. One covers another. So it's like, I think it's a more respectful approach. But in some instances, one cannot cover another. We're going to see why, right? So that's the approach. So when one cannot cover another, we make two blessings or three, whatever is necessary. Okay, according to the following rules are derived. A, must have intention to include the Tofel. When one makes bracha on the Ikar, it must have specific intention to include the Tofel, since the Tofel must also be covered by bracha. If he usually eats the Tofel with the Ikar, or its Tofel is in front of him when he made bracha, it is considered as he had a specific intention for the Tofel. Okay, so let's try to understand what it says here. So he has this meats and potatoes, right? So and he decided I like meat very much. I want to make shicha colon meat, and in his mind he must have this idea to cover potatoes, right? But they say if potatoes are in front of him, or he usually eat it this way, so it's like he has this intention. It's a general rule we have to remember. So in most of the cases, if you did not have intention, but item was in front of you, or you usually eat it this way, you don't need to make a separate blessing. Go ahead.
Is this true even if, let's say it's not open, if it's still in plastic, so on and so forth?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So okay, I just want to give an example of what you just said. So you have whatever, you have chicken, right? And you have ketchup. You know this ketchup that they give in the restaurants, like in the small packets. So it is closed. You can open, and whenever you're ready, just you can eat. Any questions?
Rabbi Leib, let's say Russian borscht. Over there, vegetables and meat. What I should do? I should say shakol, and in my mind, adama, or no?
Okay, so in there, so the most important ingredient is there. It's not meat. The most important ingredient is beets and cabbage and potato. So you can say hadama, and it's going to cover everything.
Got it.
Because it's the most important ingredient. Unless you like this special piece of meat, but usually meat there does not have any special flavor. You understand? Because it's imbued with vegetables. That's clear. You have hadama, but in your mind everything is included. Okay.
Thank you.
But as I said, it's a separate chapter about soups. It's not so simple, but just to answer. Okay, continue. Okay, all right, continue. B, left premises after making bracha on Ikar. In many cases, bracha made in one location does not remain while after leaving the location where it was made. Okay. When it was made, I apologize. I missed one note. Okay, so let's read the note and we see. In chapter 7, we discuss the halachas of specific intention with regard to the covering on numerous items in one bracha. For example, one makes a bracha on an apple that that bracha will cover other types of fruit which will subsequently be eaten, provided that he has specific intention for additional fruit. However, if at that time he makes bracha on an apple, he has no intention to eat additional fruit, and he subsequently decided to eat other types of the fruit, new bracha is required. Okay, so let's, since they brought this example, and it's chapter 7 and we're in chapter 4, I think. Okay, so let's explain. So he has a bowl of fruit in front of him, right? And he has grapes, and he has apples and bananas, all of these things, peaches, right? And he decided to eat one apple. If he didn't have any intention whatsoever. So I'm hungry. I made the barapri, I started eating apple. So technically, because as we said before, fruits are in front of him, he didn't have any intention to exclude these fruits. These fruits are included. So you need only one blessing. That's it. So only one blessing if it's in front of him. If he ate one apple and second apple is in the refrigerator, and he did not mean to eat second apple, it's not included. So if second apple in front of him, doesn't matter. I mean, on the table, he sees it, doesn't see it, doesn't make any difference. Actually, it does. He must see it like in front of him. So then it's included. What they say here. So if he had intention, so for example, apple maybe not such a good example. So I'm on a diet. Let's say I'm on a diet. So I said I'm going to eat only one piece of chicken. That's it. So there is a big platter with the chicken. I took one piece. I finished one piece. So if I wanted to take second, I have to make separate blessing, because in my mind I made blessing on one. Usually, when you don't have any intention, you can eat the whole platter. You have eat all the eight pieces of chicken. You understand? So from our intention, everything changes. Our intentions of the Jew is an unbelievable thing. Okay, that's what they are saying. 1 second. All right. Okay, so now we go into a different subject. If he left the place, so that's the most difficult for concept for most of the people. Okay, so let me start from the beginning because we interrupted a little. So be left premises where after making bracha on Ikar. So Ikar means or Ikar, so it means the primary, right? In many cases, bracha made in one location does not remain valid after leaving the location that it was made. So you made the bracha and you went outside. That's it. This bracha no longer works unless you eat an apple and it was your intention that you started at home and you continue, or you eat cookies. You started at home and you continue eating in the car. So that's the different story. Okay. So, but otherwise, you went outside. You went outside to get mail. You come back. You need to make different blessing. In such a case, if one made bracha on Ikar and then left the premises, should he wish to eat some Tofel, secondary, subordinate, when he returns, the bracha will be required. In this case, even the Tofel was originally included in bracha on Ikar, since the original bracha on Ikar is no longer valid, bracha is now required for a Tofel. So I mean, I'm not sure why they give like separate examples, but basically he made on a primary. So let's take our stew again, potatoes with meat, right? So he made the blessing, let's say on the meat covers potato. So now let's say he finished meat, okay, and he went to check mail. Comes back to the room. So now he must make a separate bracha on potatoes. But even if he had meat, the bracha is no longer valid. Make sense?
Right. Since our bracha can have kavanah for if we go outside this room and outside this building and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Doesn't it count as unnecessary bracha, since I should think?
No. It's only if you have specific kavanah. So to have I go to check mail. But I'm always going to think about this meat and potatoes.
I agree with you. I'm saying, let's say I wash my hands in the morning, or I eat a shackle in the morning. Why not have kavanah that the shackle goes on all the other foods so that I don't have to say Hashem's name?
No, there is an expiration time. So there's a definition of the meal. So meal starts and some point, it ends in some point. And there is some actions that we do, like they interrupt the meal, the definition of the meal. You understand? That's the concept.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
And the changing of the key location is one of the most famous interruption of the meal. That's
well, let's say you go somewhere where, I don't know, there's snacks and they study Torah in the middle, okay? So, but the thing is, you're not going to come in and out the room to make a shackle every time. So the kafana always goes on the shackle, no matter how many times you switch the room. Right?
Okay, so if you in this case, if you have the actually it's not so simple. Let's leave this topic. It's bigger than we think. Let's leave this topic for now. Don't do it. So for now, I would say I'm going to drink this coffee until I go out. When I go out, I go to the restroom, I go talk to this guy, that guy. So basically, once you start talking to somebody else, once you go to the bathroom, your intention is gone completely. Try to have conversation with people. Like the people tell me it's impossible. People speak Lashon Hara. I said in this generation is a blessing. People cannot hold the conversation. Just change the topic. That's it. 3 seconds. He forgot what he was talking about. 3 seconds. Just ask how his cat. No, really, how's he? I don't have cat. No, I thought you have cat. That's it. All right. So,
question, Rabbi Lev. If I got water, say shakol, and after that, they brought me meat. In 10 minutes, I have to say shakol again or no?
What is it? So
I got shakol water.
Water, yes.
And they bringing me the meat.
But one second. Did you expect that they're going to bring you meat?
I didn't expect it. No.
No, then you did not know. So then you would have to say shechakul.
Oh, I got you.
But different example. So they give you coffee. They give you coffee, and they say the omelet is going to be in 5 minutes. Start drinking coffee. We're going to make omelet for you. Shechakul, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So in this case, in your mind, if you are applying your mind, I want to drink coffee and I'm going to wait in another 5 minutes, they're going to bring me this omelet. So my omelet is covered.
Got it.
Even though maybe it does not exist yet, but it is covered because it was your intention.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. If you go to eat in a house, though, that shackle works on everything because the kavana is, even if you didn't have kavana, you didn't know what they were bringing in, right? It goes on.
Exactly. So that's what David is asking. It's very interesting. So when you guest in somebody's house, you expect to eat everything, whatever they give you. You don't know. You don't know. So if you're in your house, I say I'm going to eat only this piece of chicken. When you in somebody else, you don't know. Maybe they're a 7-course meal. How do you know? You understand? Then your bracha applies to everything. But that's different. And it's very interesting. I think in this book, Rabbi comments and they say same with a man. Man is always guest in his house. He doesn't know what's going on. So whatever his wife brings him, covered. You understand? Okay, so let's continue a little. So part number 2. Bracha on Tofel, after making bracha with Ikar. So blessing on a subordinate after he make a blessing on prime, right? So in our example of potatoes meat, he wanted to eat meat. Potato was secondary. He already said blessing on meat. So if he is allowed or should make a blessing on potatoes. Let's see. Before that we said no, but let's see. After bracha has been made on Ikar, meaning the primary, one should not attempt to be machmir by making bracha on the Tofel. Being machmir, meaning stringent, right? In this manner is not only unwarranted, but also more importantly, bracha levatala. So if you already decided, so I'm going to eat meat and potatoes, and meat is primary, potato is secondary. I'm going to make a blessing on the meat. So you're not allowed, it's forbidden to make blessing on potatoes. That's how serious it is. If in a situation that I said that's my always rule, I like this one and I like this. I don't have any special preference. So in this case, you're allowed to make two blessings, right? But if you decided this is primary, this is secondary, that's it, only one blessing. Okay, continue. Number 3, bracha on the Tofel, meaning on a secondary, before making bracha on the Ikar. Okay. According to many poskim, bracha made on the Tofel before the Ikar is bracha sheina tzircha. Okay. And unnecessary bracha. So let's see, commentary. Bracha sheina tzircha is explained in detail, chapter 14. So, I mean, okay. But we're going to explain now. Since the Tofel will be eaten together with Ikar, in which case the bracha on the Tofel will not be required, taking the Tofel before Ikar causes unnecessary bracha. Okay, so let's read the example. For example, the correct bracha on the cherry Danish is boremine mizoinis. Prior to making the mizoinis, one should not remove some fruit in order to make bracha on prichoetz first. Doing so is not only unwarranted, but also prohibited, causing unnecessary bracha to be made. Gorem bracha sheina tzercha. Commentary. It is also contrary to the rules of priority of the brachos. Okay. So let's try to understand what it says. So this case is talking about when you have primary and you have secondary. So let's say our potatoes example, potatoes and meat. So he likes meat better, right? More, right? And somehow he made the blessing on potatoes. So, but since he already said that the meat is more important for me, so potatoes does not cover meat. You have to understand, potatoes does not cover meat, right? And so this blessing on potatoes is unnecessary blessing. It's not blessing in vain. It's not, because in some cases, as we said, if you like potatoes and you like meat and you want to make two separate blessings, there is no problem whatsoever, right? But in this case, he decided it was a primary or secondary, right? So it's unnecessary blessing. It's not blessing in vain, unnecessary blessing. And blessing on these potatoes did not cover meat. Okay. So the example they give a cherry Danish, right? Cherry Danish, and on in the middle you have like cherries, right? Cherry jam or whatever you have there. So it's absolutely forbidden to pick up the cherry and make a replicates. It's unnecessary blessing. It's the primary food is a mizonot. You make on mizonot, it covers everything. Make sense? So that's unnecessary blessing.
Okay. Let's say there's pita bread and falafel, okay? Now, you don't really want the pita bread, but I don't know, you just have a very small piece, and then you have all the falafel. Let's say 5 falafel bowls, whatever there is in there. I'd have to make, what's it called, the hadam on the falafel bowls. No, I wouldn't have to.
No, why? Because pita is 100% bread. You have to wash, you have to have hamotz on the pizza.
No, I'm saying I took a small piece, less than a kazayas. I'm saying I took less than a kazayas. But it's still the ikar of the whole Suda. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's not ikar. No. So, okay. I mean, I'm trying to stay on a topic, but I'm going to answer this question. So basically, you have this falafel, right? Falafel, and you want to eat only small piece of pita. So we say if it's less than kizayas, it's not a meal. It's not a meal, right? So it does not cover anything. So it's like just another ingredient. So you have to say blessing separately on you make hamotzi on pita, right? And you say the different blessing on falafel.
Okay.
Okay, so continue. Number 4. Tofel to a Tofel to a Tofel. Okay, so secondary to second. What does it mean? If one food item is Tofel to another food, which is still is Tofel, it too is covered by Bracha of the Ikar. Let's say. Let's see the example. For example, one eats a chopped liver spread on the crackers, and its primary intention is to eat the crackers. The crackers are considered Ikar, and the liver spread is Tofel. If he decided to add pickle to enhance the spread to liver spread, a new bracha on the pickle would not be required. The pickle enhances the liver, which in turn enhances the cracker. Therefore, the bracha originally made on a cracker is considered to cover pickle as well. Okay, so I mean that's fancy schmancy example, but let's try to understand. So in this example, he took a cracker, and that's what he wants for a situation, stuff like that. And he put spread the chopped liver. So chopped liver in his mind is improvement for a cracker. For me personally, I would like them like almost the same. But as we said, mizonos, you always make a blessing. It's never Tofel, even if it's secondary. It still requires your separate blessing, recite, right? So, but in the case of this person, this this cracker is primary, chopped liver is secondary, and now he wants to improve even secondary. Put a piece of pickle. So now your cracker covers chopped liver, and chopped liver covers pickle. So only one blessing is necessary, which is I think good. So when person is very particular, that's my summation, right? So if a person is very particular, he has to be versed very well in these halachas. If he's not particular, the life is much easier, the way I see it. Okay, number 5. Tofel left over after Ikar finished. Okay, so our example would be you ate cereal with milk, right? And you finish cereal and some milk left. Okay. Let's see. If one finished eating the Ikar and has Ikar is a primary, Ikar, right? And has some of the Tofel left over, he is not required to make bracha on the leftover Tofel because he eats it before he eats it. Since the primary purpose of the remaining food was the Tofel, since the primary purpose of this remaining food was the Tofel, Chazal did not consider the leftover portion chashuv enough to require as its own bracha. So it's very interesting explanation. I like it very much. So you have this cereal, you have this milk, you finish cereal, and most likely, like in my case, it's always you have some leftover milk, right? So you eat this milk with a spoon and stuff like that. So this milk is not so important. So it's only leftover. So it's leftover from what you ate before. So they say no new blessings necessary. So it's very important not to make extra blessings. Go ahead. Any question?
I think this question is somewhat related. But that is with mizonos, right? Because we say you have to make a mizonos on dessert. But if you're still hungry, you don't make a mizonos on dessert, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I had the mizonos, but I had a 5-ounce dessert. I ate 3 ounces of it, but now I'm full. Do I have to make a bracha on the other 2 ounces, or is it kind of like the Tofel over here where you don't have to make a bracha on it?
I didn't get the situation. Why if you had 3 ounces and why? Okay, go ahead. I didn't get.
I had a 5-ounce dessert. Okay.
Yes, 5 ounce dessert. Yeah.
Now I made a bracha b'rayminei mizonos. I ate 3 of those ounces. Okay. Now I'm full, but I still want the taste of this though. I still, it's left over. I don't want to, just leave it over. So this other 2 ounces, do I have to? What's it called? Does it count as a different suda or no?
No. It's same. It's all the same. It's all the same. It's covered. 100%. About I just want to add to what you said, one more scenario when you don't need to make a blessing on the dessert. So if you always eat dessert or in your meal. So if on Shabbos, like every like Friday night, let's say every Shabbos morning, like after you finish your Seudah, you always take a piece of cake. That's your tradition. Then it's automatically covered. You understand? Because it's a very important rule. So if you're constantly doing it, whatever you do, it's your habit. It's like in your mind you're expecting. So it's automatically covered. So, but for example, for me, sometimes we have cake, sometimes we don't have cake. Sometimes I'm hungry, not hungry. So in this case, since it's not part of my Seudah, so I always make a separate blessing on the cake.
Wait, Rabbi, does it have to be necessarily a cake? Let's say I always have a cake. Okay, I understand. Then I don't have.
No, ice cream. It could be ice cream. It could be like fruits.
Okay. But let's say I just know that in general, I generally have dessert. Doesn't have to be I always have ice cream, so on and so forth. I just have dessert. So is it covered even though I don't know if it's going to be this dessert or that dessert? You know.
That's a difficult situation. I don't know. So it's very unspecific.
But if I go to a place and I know they usually serve me dessert, I don't make them as going to serve chocolate on it.
So if you have this intention, because it's not your habit. If you have it, meaning that you're in your house and you know for sure it's going to be so. And you always eat because you always enjoy it. That's the thing.
So why do I see so many families? They always make a shackle at the end of on Shabbos. They always make a shackle for dessert.
Always make?
Always.
Okay. On what?
Let's say I don't know. Let's say they have ice cream and it's a shiloh to them because, you know, they want to go through a Moshe too, so they get a piece of gum or whatever, you know, a small jelly bean. Then they make a shackle on the jelly bean. But it always usually comes with a Seudah at the end of the Seudah because they always, if you have ice cream at the end.
Okay, so it's not necessary, but if they want to go by that opinion, so basically in their mind, maybe I'm going to eat, maybe I'm not going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's every time like that.
Okay, so basically, in general, on Shabbos, if you go to a certain place to eat all the time, it's better not to make.
It's not your tradition.
Since they usually go to the same thing.
It's not your tradition.
Not my tradition.
It's maybe their tradition, but not your tradition.
But what if my tradition is to go there for Shabbos?
So meaning what? Maybe you're going to eat, maybe you're not going to eat. Maybe they're going to serve this time. Maybe they ran out of ice cream. How do you know?
But what is so?
In order to include something, you should know, or at least that they serve there.
But if it's dessert in general, then what do I do?
If you know, like if you go to, I don't know, to a catering place, right? And they give you five course meal, and then they have dessert. So you know in the menu that you're going to get dessert in 2 hours. That's it. So of course it's included.
Okay, no matter what the dessert is, even though one day it's going to be a chocolate, it's going to be
you know that after you pay so much money, that's what you want to get. Yeah, I'm going to eat. Even a food is going to come through my nose. I'm going to, for this kind of money, I'm going to eat. Nobody is going to stop me. Yes. So of course, in this case, it's going to be covered. Be'Ezrat Hashem. All right. So continue. Okay. So next scenario. Let me check time. Okay. Okay, number 6. Bracha Achrona for Ikar and Tofel. So Achrona is a ending blessing. Just as Bracha Rishona, initial bracha for Ikar covers the Tofel, so too does the Bracha Achrona, concluding blessing on Ikar, covers the Tofel. Guidelines for determining the correct Bracha Achrona for Ikar and Tofel combination are discussed in Addendum 1, Section D. Okay, we're going to get it in 5 months maybe. Okay, so but general rule, right? So same as a initial blessing, Bracha Rishona. So work the same is a concluded blessing, Bracha Achrona, right? Exactly the same. So let's say you made a blessing on in our case, potatoes and meat, you made the blessing on. Actually, no, it's not a good example because it's the same blessing. No, it's cereal. Cereal is good. Is a good example. So you made the blessing on Beremi Nemizonis on cereal. It covered milk. So you need only one blessing on after the cereal. That's it. Okay, continue. Section G, additional applications. Okay, so now we're going to breakfast cereals. The correct bracha for breakfast cereals made from corn, flour, and other vegetable flours is shekakol. Okay, corn flour and okay. Often, however, cereals also contain flour of the five miscellaneous grains: wheat, barley, etc. If the mixture contains some miscellaneous, the miscellaneous is the Ikar. Even if the grain flour is minority ingredient, it is if its purpose is for flavor or sustenance, and it can be tasted. It considered Ikar, and the correct bracha borem min miscellaneous. So let me explain what it says, because it's very, very important. So you have breakfast cereal and it says cornflakes. So don't jump to any conclusion just because they told you it's cornflakes that is actually from corn flour. No, I mean there is some corn flour most likely, but it's not guaranteed. So what we should do, we should check the ingredients, and if in ingredients it says one of the five species, most likely it's wheat. So wheat is cheaper than it's the cheapest ingredient, right? Usually. So and even if it's minority, well, let's say it's more of the corn flour, even wheat is minority, you still make a blessing on miscellaneous, because on the corn flour you say shechakol. You understand? We good? So that's about cereal. So don't be like fooled by whatever they call it. Always look in breakfast cereals. Check ingredients. Okay. Next one, fried fish. Number 2. We have seen that if one of the ingredients of the single entity is a miscellaneous, right? The miscellaneous is a Ikar, provided that is being used as a significant way. Okay. So if it's miscellaneous in significant way, it's always primary. If it's not in significant way, it's not primary, but we still make a blessing. The example as I gave in the salad, they have these croutons, right? Croutons primary, it's majority, absolutely not. But since they are of miscellaneous, you have to make a blessing. You have to make separate blessing on them. So the issue is that we encountered, right? If you buy these croutons from the store, right? So they always miscellaneous. Why? Because they were made for this purpose, for the salad, period. When you make croutons by yourself, it's never miscellaneous, never. Because like we have this bread leftover, right? We just cut it in pieces, in cubes. You dry it in the oven, and that's it. You have croutons, right? But these croutons were made originally as a bread. So on these croutons, you have to wash your hands, even though you don't eat enough to make hamotzi, of course. I mean, we still eat a lot, but you must wash your hands, or eat it during the bread meal, whatever you want. So okay, one more time, the intention of the manufacturer is very important. In their intention, it was never bread. It was some snack, right? Okay. Continue. So now we're talking fish fried in the flour, right? There is a difference of the opinion among the poskim with regard to the appropriate bracha for a fried fish, right? What does it mean? Fish dipped in a thin coating of the flour or matzah meal and fried. So that's what we do, right? You dip it in an egg, right? And then you dip it in the flour and you fry, right? So basically the question is, if you need to make separate blessing on this thing, nobody actually thin coat of this flour. Okay. According to some poskim, since miscellaneous is added to give flavor, it is considered Ikar. So meaning it's primary, right? According to this view, the appropriate bracha For a fried fish, boremine mizoinis. That's a tough bracha. Let's see. Other poskim are of the opinion, but then a thing called of mizoinis is added to fish. Mizoinis is not being used in significant manner, and is therefore is not considered the Ikar. According to this view, the appropriate bracha is shechako. Okay, commentaries. Regarding what to do in the cases bracha questionable, see chapter 16. Okay, so let's finish reading, and I'm going to explain what to do. The appropriate bracha for products made with a thick mizoinis coating, however, such as fish made with a thick butter, dipped coating, like they sell it in the store in a freezer section, right? Coating is boremine mizoinis, according to both views. Since the thick coating is definitely added to give sustenance and or flavor. So when I think they call it chicken fingers, right? Like right. So it's like thick coat and inside little piece of chicken. Oh, not chicken, fish. Doesn't matter. Fish, chicken. That doesn't matter. Right. So if you have a thick coat, so you say boremine mizoinis, and it covers chicken inside or fish inside. Right. But if it's only thin coat, right? So as we say, you put you dip the fish in an egg, and then you dip in a flour and put it on a frying pan. So some say it is mizoinis, but for me I would go by the second opinion, say it's not mizoinis. It's not. It's too little of the flavor, right? So I would say shechako. But if in this case when a thick coat, for sure it's going to be mizoinis. That's everybody agree on that. Continue. Number 3, onion rings. Generally, onion rings are made with a substantial mizoinis, butter dipped coating, and therefore required boremine mizoinis. So all of this the onion ring, even though there is a ring, onion is inside, but around the onion is a butter, meaning the mizoinis. So for sure you say boremine mizoinis or onion rings. Next one is knishes, also in very interesting. The most interesting, the dough cover the knish is substantial, and therefore bracha boremine mizoinis. So even though like how much dough do I have knishes? I don't know, maybe 10%, 15%, maybe I don't know, maybe let's say 15-20%. Since it's still a lot, you say boremine mizoinis, and it covers the knish.
Rabbi, what's considered not a lot?
Like we said, that this example when they argue in case where we dip this fish in a flour. It's not flour. They make dough, right? They make dough and then put inside of the dough they put potatoes or put the piece of chicken. So it's dough. Dough for sure it's thick, because if you cannot make dough too thin because it's going to break. Understand? It's have to be like specific thickness. Okay. Next one, cheesecake. It's very interesting. In many cases, cheesecakes are made with a thin layer of dough. Right on the bottom, you have a tiny layer of dough to keep the whole cake together. Right. According to some poskim, mizoinis used in this manner is not considered chashuv, very important. Because the dough is being used merely to enrich the appearance of the cake. Meaning, and plus, I would say just keep it together. Since the mizoinis is being used in insignificant manner, the cheese is deemed ikar, and correct bracha would be shechako. The correct bracha, however, for the cheesecake made for a thick dough is boremine mizoinis. So let me see if there is continuation. I'm going to explain. No. Okay. So it's very simple. Like most of the time you have like a tiny thin layer of this of the dough on the bottom on the cheesecake. So in this case it's not significant, it's only to keep it together, and it looks better, separate layer. So you say shechako. But sometimes in a cheaper, I would say, in a cheaper cheesecake, they give you the more dough, right? Because cheesecake, I don't know, like I think they sell like maybe $10 or $15 a pound, so it's very expensive, right? So it's very expensive. So they sell you dough for this money. So in this case, since a lot of dough, you make mizonos. Make sense? Oh, we're going to finish this chapter. Any questions? Okay, continue. Various types of cholent. So cholent is, as we said, it's not so simple. Let's see. We have seen that generally the approach bracha on a cholent consists of small pieces of potatoes, meat and barley, borem and mizonos. Okay, let's read the commentary and we explain. Even though the barley is neither the majority ingredients nor the most preferred ingredients, it is nevertheless considered the Ikar component of the cholent, being the mizonos grain. Okay, so barley, as we said, it's one of the 5 species of grain, right? It's always important. So according to this opinion, you make borem in mizonos, even it's minority. I don't know how much is barley, maybe 5%, I don't know, maybe 10% tops, right? Maybe 15%, but the rest you have potatoes and meat and other beautiful things in there. But since it is important, you make borem in mizonos. But I would say, so when I have this mix, I always say I like meat. I like meat, so I would say borem in mizonos, and just in case, I would say on the meat because I like it very much. So for me, I make it like explicitly, it's not covered. Or most of the time, you would eat it with a bread meal. So if you eat it with the bread, there is no problem with that. There is no different blessing. Or there is always solution, as we said before. I forgot to say, in all of the questionable situations. You have all the questionable situations, right? So the solution is make blessing on something else. Don't start with a cholent. Start with a salad, right? Start with a tea, right? So, or with water. Water is not a good example. So start with the tea, and in your mind, say, I'm going to make blessing on a tea, and it should cover meat and a cholent. Okay. So even though you say borem in mizonos on this on this barley, it would cover the rest of the cholent. So to be on the safe side. Okay. So let's they say it is important to know that if the cholent consists of large pieces which are not eaten together in the same spoonful, okay, or forkful, it is not considered single entity, and the various components are required their own separate brachos. Okay, so all right, so that's we mentioned in a review, but I have to say it again. So if it's big pieces of potatoes, so small pieces of potatoes like tiny pieces and tiny pieces of meat, so you with one fork you can get potatoes and meat and barley. Okay, that's when we say it's a mix. But if you like a bigger piece of potatoes, bigger pieces of meat, I have to cut the meat, I have to cut the potatoes, totally separate object. They're not mixed. Then, in this case, it's straightforward. You make on all of these ingredients separate blessing. Then they're never mixed. Okay. Continue. There is there are a great number of various in this variations of this food. All generally refer to cholent. Some types of cholent do not contain barley, possible, right? If the primary ingredients are potatoes, beans, and kasha, the appropriate bracha boreh berich adama. Meaning what? Because in this case, you don't have cholent, but you have a lot of potatoes, beans, and kasha. So all of this, the majority. So you make a blessing on majority, and majority of this of boreh berich adama covers meat, 100%, as we said before. Continue. Some cholents are soupy consistency. So many very soupy, like a lot of liquid. Since the gravy is in the intrinsic part of the cholent, it does not require separate bracha. So even though we said that solids do not mix with the liquid, solids do not mix with the liquids, two separate entities. But in this case, in the case of the cholent or meat and gravy, gravy is a secondary. It's always secondary. It's not like separate thing, right? I mean, for example, if you compare it to soup you can eat without like vegetables. You just want to drink. Your person does not feel good, right? He's sick, so he wants to just to drink the broth. there is no problem. He can drink, right? It's separate, separate dish. But in this case, nobody, I mean, no normal person like would eat just gravy by itself, unless he's very hungry, right? So that's why gravy is always secondary, and this soupy cholent is always this liquid stuff is always covered by whatever blessing you make. The cholent contains kishka or cholent kugel. Okay. The cholent contains kishka or okay. All right. So I mean, the kishka is shechakol. Cholent kugel. Okay. Continue. Generally, the kishka or kugel does not become mixed into the cholent. Okay, because it's separate entities, right? But is eaten separately, not in the same fork spoon. So I mean, it's they cook together, but not eaten together. I mean, in the same plate, but like it's two separate dishes, right? Therefore, the borei minei mizonos on a kishka. I said shechakol. Sorry, anyway, what is it? It's flour, right? Borei minei mizonos on a kishka will not exempt the cholent from appropriate bracha. Okay. So since it is, you have to say first blessing on our list is borei minei mizonos, right? You say on a kishka, but it does not cover the cholent because it's two separate dishes. Okay. It's very this kishka very unhealthy food. Delicious but very unhealthy. Don't do it. Don't try it at home. Some cholents contain large, and I think it's anti-spiritual. The way I see it's anti-spiritual because you get it heavy, you want to sleep right away, and you're going to miss the Torah learning because of this. Some cholents contain large potatoes of large portions of meat or chicken. Large, right? Such a pieces of meat not being part of the single entity requires shechakol. As we said before, it's large pieces never mix. So like I have I don't know, chicken thigh. So it's never mixed with the rest of the cholent. Okay, so let's stop here. We go to the questions and that's it. All right. Any questions?
Yes.
We finished chapter number 4. Mazel tov for us. Okay.
Rabbi, can you show me the book again? I'm going to see the book. Maybe I'm going to buy this book.
No, I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rabbi. Thank you.
Yes, it's amazing book. All of the details. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. So he says, when you're hungry, you don't make.
One second. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
You don't make a mizonos if you're still hungry. My question is,
you don't make mizonos. Oh yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
okay, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So what's it called? But in that case, dessert. Everybody for dessert, they're still hungry for dessert. For chicken, no. For everything else, no. How over here? How are you supposed to not be hungry for dessert? Only if you already had dessert, you don't want more dessert. But
there's a line in the Talmud Brochos that doesn't matter how much you eat, that's why you overeat 7 times. When they bring the dessert, you're always hungry. But we say what we try. I want to explain the big idea what David is asking. So if it's a part of your meal, it is covered by original blessing. For example, I have a piece of bread, one small piece of bread, let's say 1 ounce. There is no problem. I wash my hands. I don't make a blessing, right? On the washing, I made hamotzi and I start eating, right? But what else I had? I had some I don't know, a little salad, and I have a piece of cake. So I knew that this piece of bread is not going to be enough. This little salad left over from yesterday, not going to be enough. So basically, for my satiation, I need that this 1 or 2 pieces of cake. So in this case, these 1 or 2 pieces of cakes included in my meal. I don't have to make separate blessing on mizonos because that's what's originally planned of my meal. You understand? Right? But the David is asking. So if I had bigger meal, right? I have normal meal. I have few slices of bread. I had the soup and chicken and potatoes and salad. I have all these beautiful things, right? And now, how do I determine if I'm going to eat this extra cake for satiation or because I want something sweet? It's a good question. So I think is the proper way to say, so in your mind, this dessert is excluded, or say in your mind, like intention, the dessert is included. Doesn't matter how full I am, I'm going to eat this cake because I was dreaming about this cake for the past 7 years. Okay, that's what I want to do. So it is included. So it depends on your kavanah, basically.
And if you usually have dessert on Shabbos, this isn't
Okay.
at all, right?
Exactly. So so second big concept, right? It applies to all of the brachas. So if you always have or almost always, you have this dessert, this cake after your meal, like only with some few exceptions, it is covered. That's your kavanah. In my kavanah, I always going to have. I always, like when I eat, I try to leave my space, a little space for a cake. That's it. So it's your kavanah. No separate blessing is required. So in many people, just so you know, many people do not make a blessing on the mizonos at the end. I mean, if they in one of these categories, they don't. I mean, me personally, I always do because sometimes I'm hungry, sometimes I'm not hungry. Sometimes there is cake, sometimes there is no cake. Sometimes whatever, different situations. So.
Understood.
So basically, my general approach, we finish it now. My person, just pick for yourself one way of thinking and follow it from the beginning to the end. Okay, I'll stop here. Or any other questions, but quick.
Two more.
I have one question, maybe.
Okay, say it again.
I have one question.
Okay.
If you have a piece of bread that you are sure that it's not made from wheat,
Okay.
probably is made from corn. What blessing do you do?
Shechakol. You make shechakol in this person.
Okay.
Rabbi, you make shackle even if it's usually eaten as normal bread, like
Yes.
bread.
Yes. No, of course. It's not bread. It's not bread according to us. It's some kind of different dish. It looks like bread, but halachically it's not bread.
Got it. Okay. The second question is, when I'm going for meals, what should I do so that, because let's say I say a bracha, right? Because let's say they don't say a bracha on the Zionist, okay? Then you get such looks when you make a Zionist, they don't even say amen to your bracha, let's say. So in that case,
that's the place where you probably it's question whether you should go and not to. Why wouldn't they say amen to your blessing? I mean, what is the problem?
They're not sure about this halacha, where I get these halachas from.
Oh yeah, okay. So show them in the book. Maybe this Rabbi, what is his name? Pinchos Bodner. Maybe he knows a little better. Maybe he sold only 300,000 copies of his book, and by their halachas, not many people go. Okay, you understand? So I mean, as I told you, there are different opinions. If they had like there are two or three cases in which when you would not say blessing. If they always eat, if they had kavanah to eat the cake, there is no blessing. Or the third situation, they're still hungry. But in our case, if you say only if I want to eat, I'm going to eat. If I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to eat. That's my personal decision. When I come to the point, I'm going to decide. I'm not deciding now. So you're making it separate blessing, or make it like lower like in undertone, so they don't hear.
And what's it called? Last thing. So Shiur, right? We light before Shiur with the brachos, correct?
We light 18 minutes. Don't forget about Shiur. 18 minutes before Shiur. Don't go with the Shiur.
I'm talking about Hanukkah. I'm talking about the Hanukkah. We light
even before 18 minutes. You can light now.
But with the brachos, we're saying.
Of course, with the brachos, of course.
Okay, got it.
After a plaga mincha, you can light. No problem. Rufana, any more questions? Okay, good.
I-
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, okay, go ahead.
What about this blessing of the candle lighting 18 minutes? Can you do things with the activities during this period of 18 minutes, or it's over?
No,
You're done.
you can do. If you say I don't accept Shabbos at this point, I just light the candles and I have 18 minutes until the sunset. No problem. You can do. Okay. So all right. So let us stop here. The time is
All
short.
the best, Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Shabbat
you, guys.
shalom,
Thank you.
Chag Sameach.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you for joining us. And until this Sunday, 8:30. Be'Ezrat Hashem.